Welcome back to the Hybrid Athlete Dad Podcast. In today's episode, I'm going to be going over how to avoid burnout as a busy dad and athlete. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast for any amount of time, before I dive into the episode, I like to go over what's going on in my life when it comes to running, when it comes to lifting, maybe nutrition, maybe some of the races that I'm doing. That's really like how I like to kick off every single episode. So before I dive into how to avoid burnout as a busy dad and athlete, I want to go over some of the personal things that are going on in my life right now. Well, number one is that in upstate New York, we've definitely transitioned from fall to winter. And it was rather quick. I mean, in the fall we had some days where it was 60 degrees. We had some 75-degree days, which is typically unusual for the fall. But really up until like the last week or two, it was, I don't know, probably 45 degrees each day. Definitely a comfortable temperature to be running in. Usually I'd be running in a t-shirt, whatever I'd worn to the gym that day. I'd wear a quarter zip Under Armour, shorts, and obviously running shoes. And then I'd wear gloves depending on if it was windy or not. If it was windy, I'd wear them. If it wasn't windy, I wouldn't. But over the last 2 weeks or so, and specifically within like the last week, the temperature has dropped, and most of the days the high is 30. But usually I'm running in the morning, which was perfect during the summer. During the fall, for the most part, I really enjoyed it. But now it's considerably cold, and again, I like running in the morning. One, just to get it knocked out of the way, and then I can focus on doing my job the rest of the day, where I don't like doing it too much later in the day. Some things will come up throughout the day that I just have to handle, or I really don't like eating my lunch and then going off and doing a 5 or 6 mile run. So I really prefer to do it in the morning, but I think it was last Saturday I got up at 6:15 to go out, and I hadn't had to have gotten up on a Saturday and run in the morning for quite a bit, because I ran a half marathon, and then I ran a 15K. So I didn't run on the Saturdays. I was only running those on Sundays, so I didn't have to worry about getting up too early. And it's boggling my mind. But there's another Saturday in there where, my wife was going away. Her cousin had a baby, and she was going away for the day. She was taking our daughter, so I knew I'd have a few hours throughout the day to go out and get a run in, so I wasn't too worried about getting up. So now that that's all behind me, nothing really planned upcoming, no races, no place where my wife is going to be on a Saturday morning for as long as I know, or at least as long as I can remember. Hopefully she didn't tell me something and I forgot it. But with that said, got up past Saturday, 6:15. When I was doing the marathon training, I was getting up at like 4:30, 4:15, which was fine. I could run there, but it was never really that cold because I was doing it mostly in the summer and a little bit into the fall, because my marathon was, I believe, October 13th, so the weather was still pretty good. So I got up Saturday, 6:15, and it was 20 degrees outside. So I wore a t-shirt. I had a fleece Under Armour quarter zip that I wore. And then I wore leggings and shorts, and I still had my gloves that I would wear when had been running. I used them for my marathon. That's why I bought them actually specifically for my marathon, because it was going to be raining. So bought those and went out and did a 5-mile run that Saturday. And usually when I'm like running in the cold this time of year, I'll go out, I'll do a mile, and that's when I start to warm up. I mean, I tell you what, I did these 5 miles and I was still like an ice cube. I was frozen. I was freezing. I mean, not like hypothermia or anything like that, but just absolutely cold. So told my wife, okay, we're getting in the car. We're going to go to Dick's Sporting Goods, and I got to get some new gear. So bought some new Under Armour gear, bought some warmer gloves. Actually started wearing a hat. I hadn't been doing that. I mean, like a winter hat. Obviously, I wear a hat in the summer, but I haven't worn a winter hat. And I had one from Smartwool, and it seems to be working out pretty good. And for the most part, I'm pretty warm out there now, going out and doing my run. So I'll have the cold gear long sleeve, or I'll have a different type of long sleeve. Then I'll wear a fleece, or I'll wear a quarter zip, and then I always wear the leggings now, and then shorts. And obviously running shoes, and I'll wear a hat and I'll wear gloves as well. So trying to just stay warm out there. I mean, even today when I went to the gym this morning, it was 11 degrees, which was hard getting back into the car. It's always interesting because my car is in my garage. So when I get out in the morning, yeah, it's a little cold, but the car is about 40, 50 degrees, and I'll drive to the gym and I'll sit there for, say, an hour or so while I work out, and I come back out, and yeah, it's freezing out there, especially when today 11 degrees. I'm coming out of the gym and the sun really hasn't come up yet. So take a little while to adjust to this cold, but honestly, I would prefer this cold any day of the week over the summer. I mean, there was times when I ran in the summer, it'd be like 90 degrees out, and I just come home and just literally have to tell. I'd literally just take off my shirt, lie down on the cold tile that's right inside when you walk in our house, and have my wife grab me a frozen bag of peas and corn because I was just so hot. Where I don't really have that problem with the cold, where yeah, like the first mile, I'm like, I hate doing this. I don't want to be on this run. I just want to go back to my house that's nice and warm. But you just push through it, and now that I have warmer gear on, about a mile into the run, I'm definitely feeling a lot better. And I hope that can, those listening out there, you can relate to that, knowing that winter came on, at least me, pretty quickly. I'm not someone that's run for a whole year. I really picked it up April, May, so it was already decently warm. So I really wasn't worrying too much about running through the winter. I'm thinking about getting a treadmill just for the days where if it snows a lot and I just can't get out because we got 4 or 5 inches of snow on the road. Even today when I was running, we got about probably half an inch, maybe a little bit less than half an inch of snow. And it melted in some spots, didn't melt in some other spots, and there was a ton of black ice. So I felt as though I was shuffling along. Honestly, probably could just use ice skates on today's run, but knew I got through it. So thinking about that, probably going to try to look for one on Facebook Marketplace where I can spend a couple $100, not looking to buy something that's 2 or 3 thousand bucks, just something that I can use that if it snows and I literally just can't get outside. Or even I know in January where I am, a couple of days throughout January there'll be sub-freezing temps. I don't know if I want to be running in sub-freezing temps. If I can keep it to about 20-ish degrees and up, that's perfectly fine. With me, I feel as though I have enough gear, enough to be adequate right now, but for those days where it maybe drops into the single digits or even sub-zero, it would be nice to have that treadmill. So that's what I'm looking at right now. Finally bought a new pair of Hokas. If you've been listening to the episodes for any length of time, you should know that I really wanted to get a new pair. I was waiting for Black Friday, thinking that I could get a discount on these Hokas. That's literally why I was waiting this entire time. I really needed them probably after the marathon, because I mean, I ran a half marathon in them, I ran a marathon in them, I ran a 15K in them, I ran a other half marathon in them. So right there, that's what, 56.2 plus 9.3. What are we looking at? Like 65.5-ish miles, give or take, on the mileage. So plus whatever other miles I'd run consistently throughout leading up to the trainings. I mean, I did a 12 mile, a 13 mile, a 14 mile, a 16, 18, 20. And then I did I know probably another 16, 14. Have gone on, done 10, 12s. So I mean, there's so many, there's so many miles put on those shoes. It's funny. I could see them when I was at the store, and they were literally like, there's like three almost like sections to the shoe, and I only have two now because it's just been smushed down for so long for running. Where like my workout shoes that I wear at the gym every day, I've had for 3 years, but I only wear them to the gym. They're just knowable. They have like a flat bottom. They're really nice, and I like using them. So I was thinking that I could get away with that using my running shoes for 3 years, but I learned early and often that's not the best spot about it. Really, for me, what I encountered was just I was starting to get shin splints again on these runs. Like, I haven't had shin splints since probably I started running. So I think it was like, and last time I was getting shin splints, I was wearing a pair of $40 Asics and another different type of pair of Noble shoes that aren't the Asics. Like that's what I wear like right now that I have on, that I just wear throughout the day while I'm working, but not great for running. Same with the Nobles. They have a hard bottom, not great for running long distances. Where a couple miles, yeah, sure, they might be fine. Again, was waiting out the whole time to see if I can get them on sale. I think out of the different colors of Hokas. So I ended up going with the Clifton 9. That's what I wear. That's what I enjoy wearing. And I think there was one color that was discounted. I think they were like 145-ish around there, and there's like one color that was discounted to like 115. So kind of disappointed, but nonetheless was bought those. So just waiting for those to come in the mail and just start to use those ones. And I have a feeling it's gonna feel a lot better on my feet. I got some blisters the last time that I wore them for the very first time, so I'll see what happens. Again, I bought some more expensive running socks. I believe it's called Balega, Balega. I think so. I think that might be the name on them on Amazon. They're about $16 for one pair, and for me, I was like, wow, that's pretty pricey for buying one pair of socks. Usually, I would just buy mine like 8 pairs for $8 at the store, but ever since I did that, hadn't had any problems with blisters. So when I do my long runs, that's what I save them for. So if you do need a good pair of socks, I'd recommend check them out because having blisters is no fun at all. And the last thing that I wanted to make a mention of is I'm an avid reader. I like to read about a book every 2 or 3 weeks, depending on the season that I'm in, depending on how much time, depending on how busy work is, depending on when my daughter wakes up in the morning. If she wakes up a little bit later and I'm a little bit more crunched for time, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to read. But with that said, I have been reading a lot of books on running and just fitness in general. The last book that I had read was completely different. It was called The Man Who Caught the Storm. It was all about the biography on Tim Samaras. Hopefully I'm pronouncing his name correct. It was probably one of the best books that I think that I've ever read. It was definitely something that was interesting, something that I don't know if I would have normally read too often, but if I find like something that I'm interested in, like twisters, tornadoes, I'm gonna go out and just grab a book and read about it. And it was absolutely fascinating. It was very riveting. I think it took me, I don't know, maybe less than 2 weeks maybe to even read the book, and it was 250-ish pages, and I just couldn't get enough of reading that book. So I highly recommend checking that one out. Now the next book I'm reading is called Rock Bottom to Rock Star by Ryan Blair. I read this book a very long time ago, but it's prefaced on lessons from the business school of hard knocks. So just want to get back into the entrepreneurship books, business books, wanting to read another one of them just because I had read so many ones on fitness and on running. And yeah, obviously those books are great, but I was just looking to read something a little bit different. Now, with that said, I want to dive into today's episode on how to avoid burnout as a busy dad and athlete. My best advice that I could give you, and what I'm going to be sharing with you, is really just my own personal experiences, whether it works for you, whether it doesn't work for you. I'm just going to be sharing you what worked for me, and hopefully it'll work for you. So first off is if you're thinking about, I want to become a hybrid athlete, and what does that mean? What's your definition of a hybrid athlete? For me, it's very simple. It's just someone that, I don't want to say cross training, but someone that does strength training and someone that does, you could say, in cardio or endurance training, and does both of those on a very consistent basis. That's what being that hybrid athlete means to me. And when I first learned about this concept, I was more just into strength training. I was going to the gym 5 days a week, but really 2 days of the week. That was more focused on just doing abs. I don't even know if I did any strength training on those days other than just doing ab workouts. Where I would just do like your full abs and then I'd do the obliques. On the other days I'd throw in some cardio. But I mean, my cardio at that time, that was, I don't know, walking 10 minutes on the treadmill, walking 20 minutes on the treadmill. It wasn't actually doing any sort of actual cardio. So I started doing that. And then if you listen to any previous episode or talk about nutrition, I talk about how I started working with a nutritionist. And then from there she said, okay, you should start running a little bit more often. So I just started running 1 mile on that Tuesday and Thursday while I was working out and just started incorporating that. And then I wanted to start to get outside. So I believe I just kept those 2 ab workouts on that Tuesday and Thursday. And then I started running 3 days per week. I would run like Monday, Wednesday, Saturday, or Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm not sure the exact days. I feel like I should know because it's been less than a year, but I do recall I was doing 3 days per week of running. And then I started to get a little bored of running. It was rather quickly, to be honest. It was probably about 6 weeks into doing it. So after those 6 weeks, I wanted to incorporate more. So then I started swimming. I started biking, and I'd swim twice a week, bike twice a week. But you can see this natural progression where I was really doing strength training 3 days a week. Now I'm running 3 days a week for about over a month. And now I'm incorporating swimming and biking into my workout. So it's just starting small and building it up, where now what it looks like is 5 strength training sessions per week, and it looks like 5 days of running per week. But I built that up really since April or May when I started running over time. So I would say, to avoid burnout, one of the best pieces of advice I would have if you're thinking about, I want to become a hybrid athlete, is just to not overdo it right away and just start small and work your way up. I mean, I did my first 5K in, I think it was the end of May. I don't think it was June quite yet. And that was the first race that I ever ran. And then I was running, so that was in end of May. So we had June, July, August, so 3 months. Then I ended up doing my half marathon, and then I did my marathon 6 weeks after. Probably a little bit quick to jump from half to full, but that's behind us now. Completed it, happy with it. But I started small. I didn't say I want to run a marathon or I want to do an Ironman. Yeah, I want the goal at some point is to do a full Ironman, but I know that I wanted to start with a sprint, which is a smaller triathlon. So the one that I had done, it was 750-meter swim, or 500-meter swim, something along those lines. And then it was a 12-mile bike ride and then a 5K on top of that. And then I did an Olympic triathlon, which is basically doubling those numbers, was like I think I might have won about a 1.2 mile swim or close to it. It was a 25-mile bike ride and then a 6-mile run. And then now I want to do a half Ironman, so I'm looking at a 70.3, and that would be double basic, or wouldn't double the swim. It would be similar to that swim, but it'd be double the bike and then a little bit more, and then which would be, I believe it's 57-ish miles, hopefully accurate on that. And then the run is a half marathon, so looking at 13.1. But you work your way up over time and you build it up over time, so that way you're not going out and doing it just so hard right away. When I started to do the strength training 5 days per week, on Tuesdays and Thursdays when I was doing the abs, I started just to incorporate a little bit more strength training into those workouts. So then after a few months of doing that, now I can kick out the abs. I add those on to Wednesday, where I'm just doing 1 day per week of those. We're doing a fully dedicated day on Tuesdays and Thursdays to strength training. And I find that works best for me, so that way I'm not burning myself out trying to push myself so hard, especially if I'm just leaning into this hybrid athlete training. That's the best piece of advice I give you. I mean, and it even goes back to if you're someone that hasn't been to the gym before, and you're trying to go 5 days a week, it's going to be really tough to do it. Try to do it 3 days per week, and then work your way up from that. And then maybe you bump up to 5, maybe you go to 4, whatever that number may be, but just start small and work your way up. Notice the signs of being burnt out. And there's different signs that I look for. There's signs of resistance where I don't want to go outside and run today. It's 11 degrees when I came back home. Yeah, it might be 20 degrees when I go and run, but I want to stay in my house and I want to feel nice and cool. I know that I have to deadlift tomorrow. Do I feel great after I deadlift? Yeah, but do I enjoy deadlift in the process? Not really. I mean, it's hard to pick up hundreds of pounds. It's not, I'm feeling pretty beat down and tired after it. I know how I'm going to be feeling. Oh, I have to go do a long run because I have a half marathon coming up. I know I have to go out and do a 10-mile run. Yeah, I really don't feel like doing that. That's more of the resistance that you're feeling. What you need to be looking out for is when you're feeling sick. And having a daughter that's in daycare, she brings home quite a bit. So I've been sick probably 3 or 4 times, relatively good this past year. Pretty much a stomach bug, and every single time. And puts me down for the count. And pretty much every single time that it happens to me, I can tell I'm fatigued. What's the word I'm looking for? Not enjoyable going to the bathroom. I'll just leave it at that. I can feel it coming on when I'm at the gym. I'm scared to do squats because I know I don't want anything to be all over the floor of the gym, and I can't eat. I'm feeling sick. I probably shouldn't be going to the gym, and if I push myself, it's not going to be great. I caught a really bad cold or sinus congestion from my daughter. It was before the 15K, so probably about 6 weeks ago, and just had a ton of phlegm, just was coughing it up all day. Honestly, pretty nasty. I mean, it was like just like the darkest green you've ever seen. But overall, I mean, I felt fine other than just coughing up this phlegm, probably like a little bit of a chest cold. Decided I'm going to go out and run 6 miles on that Friday. Was like dying after 3 miles, came back in. I mean, I finished the 6 miles, but that Saturday when I was like, okay, I'm going to go run again. No way was I going to be running. I was coughing up colors I had never even seen before, and I was definitely worried. I'm like, why did I push myself? I should have just taken the extra time to make sure that I'm good. I ran a marathon, and then that Tuesday I'm back to running my full mileage again. I'm like, why did I do that? I'm just putting myself in a compromised position. So if I notice, okay, yeah, my legs are sore. Okay, kind of push through it. Let me see how this workout feels. Okay, my back's a little sore. Can I deadlift my full weight? Or maybe do I have to cut it back and do higher reps? So just noticing the signs. And sometimes when I notice it, besides feeling that resistance, because I believe that we all feel that resistance from time to time of, I don't want to get up and get out the door and go run or do this workout. But rather, sometimes I'm at the gym, I'm like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be doing this workout. Why am I here right now? I think everyone has that thought from time to time. And when I have that thought, I find as though I might be getting a little burnt out. And usually it's because I'm doing the same workouts that I have been doing for the past, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. So what I try to do is I try to switch up the workouts that I'm doing. I try to switch up the rep ranges. Maybe if I'm doing bench press, I do flat dumbbell press. Maybe if I'm doing incline bench press, I'm doing flat dumbbell press. Maybe if I'm doing flies, maybe I do cable flies. Maybe, I don't know, if you're doing squats, maybe do hack squats. Just something along those lines to switch it up. I find that's what really helps me. And if you have listened to the previous episodes, right now I'm doing Nathan French's workout. He's a BPN athlete. I've been following him for quite a while now, and I highly recommend checking out everything that he has going on. He has a great YouTube channel. But I downloaded the Playbook app. He has all his workouts there. It's like an 8-week program. What I do is I do every week twice. So for me, it's like a 16-week program because some of the exercises I hadn't done in quite a while. Like one's like a single arm Smith machine row. Wasn't quite sure on my weight. And if I'm not quite sure the weight, I always start small and see how it feels instead of trying to do too much weight. I was doing landmines. I hadn't done landmines in quite a while. Wanted to make sure I get a good feeling for the weight down. So that way, first week is more testing it. Second week, I'm like going gung-ho on it. And then the goal is after I get through these 8 weeks, I'm going to go back to the first week, do that workout. And then second week, do that workout. And then really just try to switch them up all the time. I found that was very beneficial for me, was going back through and switching up all these workouts that I was doing. Another way to avoid burnout as a busy dad and athlete is make sure you're getting enough sleep. And I know when I am not getting enough sleep at night, that's really when I feel that burnout. I'm tired, I'm groggy, I'm irritable. No one wants to be around that. I don't want to be awake, to be honest. I want to be going back to bed. So there's times where our daughter will be up throughout the night and I'm just exhausted. And I know sometimes if I go to the gym, I'm just walking around like a zombie. I'd rather maybe take the day off or take a nap throughout the day, see how I feel. Because if you don't have good quality sleep, it's just not going to be an enjoyable day. And I think anyone can attest to that. I mean, there's days where I can get 5 hours of sleep and I can go through the day and be fine. But if you start to compound it day after day after day, I'm not going to be fine. My workouts start to suffer. I'm not as focused. I'm not as mentally into it. So just make sure that you're getting enough sleep and figure out what works best for you. Usually for me, right now, I'm in bed, lights out, usually between 9 and 9:30, and I get up every morning at 4:50 during the week, and then on the weekends, maybe I might stay up a little bit later, and I'll sleep in a little bit later. Where right now I'm getting up on Saturdays at 6:15 to run, because I'm not doing long runs, I'm just doing like a 50-mile run, or 50-mile run, Jesus, a 5-mile run. If I could get up and do a 50-mile run every Saturday morning, I would be absolutely amazed. A 5-mile run on Saturday. I know that's going to take me about 45 minutes. Our daughter gets up about 7:30. I can get out the door by 6:30, get back home by 7:15. That way I'm not running too much in the dark and the sun's starting to come up just a little bit. And then Sundays I just like to just 1 day per week have no alarm, which is what I like to do. So just make sure that you're getting enough sleep. I recommend tracking it if you can. I find when I use my Garmin that I use, I find it tracks it a little more accurately than my Fitbit. I use the Garmin Forerunner 965. Highly recommend it. It just made a huge difference in my overall workout routine, just giving way more information for myself. But don't want to get too deep on that subject, but they'll go into my sleep quality, how long I was asleep, REM. I mean, I know Fitbit can give you all that information, but I just feel as though the Garmin's just going to be a little bit more accurate. And the last piece of advice that I would give on how to avoid burnout as a busy dad and athlete is just understanding that we all experience this. There's times where we're super stressed in our work. There's times where there's a lot going on. Maybe it's the holidays. Maybe there's a lot going on at home if you have a son or a daughter or husband or wife, and there's just a lot going on in your day to day, and it's tough to get out there and do a workout, or you're just trying to do this hybrid training, and then you're working, and then you're trying to spend family time, and you're getting pulled in all these different directions, and just understanding that this is just a season of your life. This is something that we all experience. There's times where I have high anxiety because I'm super stressed because there's so much going on. And then there's times where another season where I don't have as much going on and I can focus solely on my fitness. I can spend more time in the gym, and then right back before I know it, it's just super busy, a ton going on. And then before I know it, it's back to being nice and quiet. So there's always going to be these ebbs and flows, and just knowing, okay, what are the signs for burnout? And then knowing, okay, how can I prevent it? And then, okay, if I am experiencing some of it, that this is just a season in your life. And like anything else, it's going to come and go. Hopefully, it doesn't stick around too long, and that you're going to be able to push through it.